Chelik Gimel, the third part of the book, Derech Hashem, Perek Rishon, Beinyan HaNefesh U'Tovrotea. Here he describes a little bit more of what the nefesh is. We've spoken about it in the past. In the very beginning of the Sefer, he describes that the human being is composed of two parts, as opposed to animals. Even animals have something else in them too. But the human being has a nefesh, it has a guf. And the nefesh that the human being has is spiritual, it's not physical, and it has a completely different tafkid, it has a completely different mission. The best way to understand what the mission of the nefesh or the neshama is, it's like the captain of a ship. The body is a ship, it travels, it moves around, and the nefesh or the neshama, by the way, sometimes those names are interchangeable, is the captain sitting inside the ship, being able to guide. Now, as you know, the captain doesn't have complete control over the ship. There's certain things that are beyond his control, right? There's a storm, powerful wind, takes him off course. The same thing with mazalot, as we've spoken about in the past. So that's who put in place mazalot. And that mazal basically represents the destiny of man. That is where he's headed. No matter how hard he tries, he's going to end up in that destination. However, the neshama does have some movement, some leeway, that was the word I was looking for, and that is what we call the chirach hofshi, free will. We'll be able to move around to make certain decisions, but how is it going to know how to make the right decisions? Well, how does the captain know how to make sure that he stays on course? He uses either a satellite, maps, stars, something to guide it. Well, the same thing the Jewish people have the Torah. The Torah is intended for us, the captains, to make sure we steer the ship in its right course. So the nefesh or the neshama have a very important role. But not only is it an important role, it's very, very different. The nefesh is very different in the makeup, in its makeup, than the guf. And as a result of the difference in the makeup between the nefesh and the guf, they basically have different desires. Each one wants to go in a different direction. The nefesh, which is closer to God because it comes from Hashem, comes from above, has only one thing in mind. Only one thing, and that is to do the will of Hashem. It's clean, it's pure. The body that is more earthly, more materialistic, it desires that which is material, which is earthly. It's like a magnet that is drawn to that which it has, where it comes from. It's like it has an umbilical cord to the ground, attached to the ground, and that's all that which is associated with the ground. So we spoke about the fact that this is a continuous struggle the man has throughout his life, and that is the meaning of Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov, the good instinct and the evil instinct that are always pulling in different directions. And what happens in the end is that this challenge or this test that every human being goes through ultimately will decide whether you will get closer to the Kedusha or get closer to the Tumah. You will become purer or you will become impure. You will do the will of Hashem or will go against the will of Hashem. Depending on how this fight ends up, who wins this battle? It's a continuous battle. So that approximately, we've already covered that. Now we're going to take apart more the anatomy of the nefesh. Now that we know that there is something else besides the body, we need to understand, that's what he explains in this chapter, a little bit more about what is this nefesh all about? What does it really do? How does it function? On the simplest level, on the lowest level, the nefesh is instinct. All our hargashot, all our emotions, our feelings, are basically controlled by the nefesh. On the lowest level, that's what the nefesh does. The body in itself, this flesh, meat, and bones, does not have any. All it is, I call it a halifa, a suit, And when you're done with it, where you put it away. The nefesh leaves, right? The neshama leaves, departs in this world after 120. That's it. You leave behind your suit. So the suit itself, this has no feelings. The feelings, the certain ideas that it has, comes from the nefesh on the lowest level. Memory is another thing that he says over here. Comes about through the nefesh. Intelligence. All of this is at the lowest level that the nefesh brings or introduces into the body. Now, when does this happen? When does this begin? At the moment of conception. At the moment that the zera niflat, the moment that the seed is conceived, the embryo begins to grow and develop. That's the physical body. With the growth of the physical body comes also the growth of the nefesh. So the nefesh is growing according to the growth of the physical body. At the moment of birth, something else enters the body. A tselem, a ruach, a neshama, various things that we don't understand at exactly which point they enter. All we do know is that at the moment the baby leaves the mother's womb, if you would be able to see, and some people can't see, you paid close attention, you might see something entering through the head at that moment of birth, coming out of the mother's womb. So something does enter at once the baby exits, and something is there from the very beginning. And that's the nefesh. Alright, next point. Besides the hashpa'ot, besides the influence on the lowest level that the nefesh has on the guf, the nefesh also has a higher degree of influence. The reason for that is because the nefesh, remember, is connected to the Elyonim. It is a spiritual entity that is continuously in touch, in a sense in touch. Imagine like as though there would be an umbilical cord, not a physical one, but a spiritual umbilical cord connected to the above. So somehow, this nefesh or neshama is continuously connected to the Elyonim and has a certain degree of influence, a spiritual type of influence, not only a physical type of influence of emotions and feelings that you just said, but also a spiritual influence on the conduct of this human being. When people say there's a conscience, where does that come from? That's more spiritual in nature. Even though it's maybe on a lower level, there are higher level influences from above, as we will see later, prophecy, dreams, and the like. But nevertheless, there are certain things that the neshama or the nefesh actually inspire the group to do. And as a result of that, good influence, if it's positive influence, and it is positive influence if it's coming from above, right? The human being is able to fulfill his mission to do the right things. And whereas at the lowest level, the very, very lowest level is where the nefesh meets up with the blood. So that's the lowest levels of all. At that level is where you have all the desires, the food, the eating, all these things. The desire to basically do what all human beings do. You know, all the tavot, enjoy the physical pleasures, exactly. When a human being passes away from this, world, all those physical pleasures are gone. Nevertheless, there's some of those pleasures are still retained in a memory bank of the nefesh. The nefesh is still able to remember or to recall the desires that it had while it was alive. The way we know that is from stories with dibukim. Dibukim are souls that possess other people. They enter other people's bodies. Right? You've heard of exorcists that need to remove that soul that has possessed. So that soul is not a neshama, it's a nefesh. It's at the lowest level of spirit, and from time to time it is given permission to occupy a body. It's in a particular state, or what we would call in English limbo, after it has left this world. It did something so terrible that they do not allow it even to Gehenom. Forget about Gehenom. Even to Gehenom they don't allow it. Because what is Gehenom? The nicest way to explain Gehenom. I'm going to give you a beautiful, nice example, and after you hear this example, you won't mind it so much. Okay, I don't wish it to anybody, but you will understand how Gehenom is not the end of the world. There's worse things than that. Imagine a kala, a bride, on her happiest day of her life. She's wearing the most beautiful dress. It's usually white. She arrives at the hall. A lot of ketchup falls on her gown, her dress. Will she be able to go to the chuppah like this? There will be a tremendous amount of busha and shame. Go with a dirty gown, right? So she feels terrible. What would she do immediately? Either try to clean it as best as possible, or replace it, right? Change to something else. What did we just say before? The body, the physical body, is a halifa. When we come upstairs, anybody who has committed grave sins in this world, who did not account for them here, did not do teshuvah for them, he is spoiled. One of the most difficult moments up there is not the Gehenom, it's the shame that one has by looking at himself and everybody's clean around him. It's a wedding. You've come to a wedding, to a big wedding, and you want to be with everybody. You want to join your relatives. You want to be with everybody else. But you see that you're all soiled. And you want to take a shower. You want to remove this stain. That's what Gehenom is all about. Gehenom is really a tovah. It's an act of kindness that Hashem allows us to remove all those things that are there in order for us to enjoy and to be able to share with everybody else the reward and the pleasure that is spiritual in nature, that is awaiting us. And that is not possible for us to fully appreciate and participate if we're still soiled. So what does Hashem do? He removes that khalifa, that suit, brings us back down here on another reincarnation in a new khalifa, in a new suit. So many children who were not brought up in a Jewish home who were deprived of a Jewish education. It's not their fault. Why should they be responsible? Even though ignorance of the law is no excuse, nevertheless, it is a fact that they can't go to Gan Eden if they did not fulfill any mitzvot. So what do? You're going to stay in limbo? No, Hashem sends them back, makes sure that next time they're born into a better family and better surroundings. So this is the regular process. But then there are those individuals who did so many terrible things that Gehenom is not enough of them. They don't deserve yet to enter Gehenom. They have to be placed in a place called Kafakela, loosely translated as a slingshot. You know what a slingshot is? Because they're always going from one corner of the universe to another corner of the universe, being chased by demons. That's something difficult for us to comprehend. You just have to rely on the sources, that that's the way it is. And the way these things have been proven recently is by incidents that people were involved in an exorcism. That one of those souls did possess the body of a young girl or a young boy, and we were able to interrogate it. Tell us what you're going through. What has happened to you? Why are you possessing this child? What did she do wrong? So as a result of these many incidents, we were able to document what is not really written very clearly in any Gemara. These are, as we would say in English, esoteric events in nature. We don't have that much information about. We don't even know what Gehenom looks like, and we have an idea. But these souls who are dispossessed of a body are able at times to possess another body, and then of course the person who they're possessing is pain, not comfortable, and when somebody comes to take him out, they have an opportunity to ask them, what did you do in your life to deserve something like that? I guess sometimes the woman talks to the man's voice. Yeah, of course. That is how we know. That this is a dibuk. Right. Okay. So we said that the neshama, or the nefesh, has an influence over the body. It is the captain of the ship. It is able to guide this body by following certain instructions. And at times it is also capable of not only supplying the instincts, the emotions, the feelings, it is also capable, depending on the level of the individual, the level of neshama, also supplying spiritual assistance and guidance. Right? Because the nefesh does not only make sure that the person is alive. Once the nefesh leaves, the body can't function. Right? The nefesh is there pumping away the heart. It's what gives life to the person. But that's all at the lowest level. On a higher level, this nefesh or this neshama is able to supply or to give spiritual guidance as well, because it's more elevated. It is attached to the Elohim. It comes from above. So if you allow it, you give it a chance, if you listen to it, something will be telling you, oh, what I'm doing is not right. In other words, who's the one that's giving me the advice here? Is it my physical body? The fact that I'm angry and I want to take revenge? That's at the very lowest level? Or is there something higher than that giving me a different kind of advice? This is not right. You're not going to accomplish anything by taking revenge. The Torah says it's prohibited, right? So the person listens to himself, listens to the nefesh, in other words, to that higher source in him. We're not talking about to another individual, to a rabbi, to a teacher. That higher source that's in him, he would change his mind. People don't. It's easier to do what your body desires because you're immediate gratification, right? You know, like they say, the Yetzer Hara, you know how the Yetzer Hara tries to convince you to do something? He tells you, why listen to the Yetzer Tov? The Yetzer Tov is promising you that you will be rewarded immensely after this world. In Olam Haba, 120 years from now, I pay cash. I give you immediate gratification. Now, you're going to get it now. You're going to enjoy it. Do it. So this is difficult. So you got to stop for a moment. Wait a minute. And think. But those people who are impulsive by nature, who don't think, they're the ones that make mistakes. Right? So that's what it's all about. Continuous battle. Alright, next point. This neshama that is in the body, the captain of the ship, because it's in the body, imugbelet, she is limited. As much of influence as she does have, she's still limited. She's in the physical body. The physical body puts limitations. You cannot do whatever you would really like to do. It is controlled by the body. The body goes and does things. What is the neshama going to do? Remember, this neshama is a separate entity in this body. They just happen to be, there's like a marriage between them. You know, they're put together in there, and the neshama has to basically do whatever the group wants to do. It doesn't have to, the group doesn't have to do what it wants. It can follow the neshama's instructions, but that does not always happen. And you know the famous midrash, that when somebody comes upstairs, who comes upstairs? The neshama, right? And Hashem says, how come you did all these terrible things? You cheated, Not only on people, you cheated on your wife, you stole, you lied. Why did you do all these things? So what is the Nefesh going to say? I didn't do it on my own. My goof, my body is to blame because it was the one that had the desires and it wanted these things. I'm pure and I'm clean. I really never wanted to do these things, right? What are we going to say to this goof? Goof, how could you do these things? Well, the Neshama is the captain of the ship. He gave you the instructions. So what does Hashem do? So there's a mashal, there's a beautiful parable, and you can understand from the parable what Hashem does. What's the parable? There was once a king that had a big orchard. A very, very beautiful fruit grew in this orchard. And he put guards, so nobody should come from the outside and take the fruit. Who were his guards? A cripple and a blind man. He said the cripple will not be able to steal, even if he wants to. He can just guard. The blind can for sure not steal because he can't see. So he felt these are good guards. But sure enough, one day, the cripple and the blind conspired. The cripple said, you know what? I can't walk, but you can. You can't see, but I can. So put me on top of your shoulders, and I'll guide you, right? So the blind man got up, put the cripple on his shoulders, and they both together took from the fruits of the tree. And the king basically said, I figured it out. In other words, when he found that fruit was missing, that this is what they did. Each one on his own could not have done it. Each one said, I didn't do it. Yes, it's true. By yourself, you could not have done it. But together, you are able to do it. So that's what Hashem says. I blame the two of you. Each one by himself cannot do it. But the fact that you are together, you are able to do certain things. So each one gets his punishment. The group in itself has several procedures and steps that it needs to go through. Part of it being the composition of the body is very painful. The composition, besides the chibut hakever, which is something else, chibut hakever according to the Kabbalah is a very painful experience. That begins, by the way, after the people have left the funeral. When people go home, once they close the grave, chibut hakever begins. For some people who need to go through that. And it's what? It's like a thrashing. Thrashing the right word? The body is hit, and it's a very painful experience. But then comes the decomposition. The decomposition of the body is as painful as a needle, kemachat lagu, like a needle going through. The composition itself, the worms eating away at the body, is a very painful experience. The group gets enough.
Brother, the body is dead. How can you feel all the pain?
Obviously, there's a little bit of a nefesh still remaining there.
Because of the nefesh.
The nefesh is there for 12 months on the grave. Sitting on the grave, the nefesh is there. And if we had eyes to see outside the grave, if you had eyes to see and you enter the cemetery, and some people do have those kind of eyes, big people, tzaddikim, they would be able to tell who passed away within the last year just by looking around if there's a nefesh on the pit. There are many stories about that. How somebody needed to find somebody, and he was able to determine that there was a nefesh that had just recently died by seeing the nefesh on the grave. Alright, so ultimately, even though the neshama does not want to, the fact that it's in the body and it has certain limitations, it cannot completely do what it wants, but it is also responsible. Because in the end, who is the one that makes the decisions? The neshama. In the end, the neshama makes the decisions. The free will is given to the neshama, not to the body. But because it's jailed, in a sense, it's locked up in this group, it is limited that it can't do everything that it would want. It has to follow a little bit the desires of the body. The only ones who don't do that, of course, are those who take complete control of themselves. Somebody who sees a cigar. He used to smoke a lot. I'm holding myself back. Somebody who used to drink. I want to drink. I know this will make me feel good. Hold myself back. Somebody likes some other food. Doesn't put it in his mouth. Hold himself back. This discipline, this self-control is a tremendous power. Where does this power come from? From the neshama. Where does the neshama have this power from? From its free will. It has free will to make certain decisions in life. Certain decisions we don't make. Who you're going to marry, you don't usually make that. Hashem decides. As long as the person is on the right level and he's not overly picky, Hashem puts two people together. What kind of children are you going to have? You don't decide. If somebody's going to sue you, you for sure don't decide. You wouldn't want it, right? You run away from it. What kind of a neighbor you're going to have? You for sure can't decide. Can't control. You just can't control everything in life. But the rest, if I'm going to be a good man or a bad man, if I'm going to hit somebody, if I'm going to talk about someone, right? That I can control that. If I'm going to be jealous or not, I can control that. If I'm going to do a good act, if I'm going to put on tefillin tomorrow morning, I decide. I want to keep Shabbat, I decide. If I'm going to eat kosher or not kosher, I decide. These are decisions made by the neshama, and that is how the neshama is judged. The neshama is not judged by those things that were not within its control. It's judged by those things that were completely under its control. You made the decision. You actively participated here. You went ahead and put this into your mouth, right? You did not put on tefillin. You made that decision not to. So that is how reward and punishment is determined later on, because we're not robots, right? We have free will. So the neshama is limited so long as it's in a group. As a result of those limitations, it can't do everything it wants to, but it still has a tremendous influence over the nefesh. In other words, the neshama being on the higher level of the nefesh has a tremendous influence on the lower level nefesh, and from the lower level nefesh, it also has an influence on the group. In other words, it comes down all the way from above, all the way to the bottom, the group. Next point. Okay, so since the neshama is limited, how is it able, or is it able at any time to free itself from the group? Besides during the time of death. Can you think for a moment, besides during the time of death when the neshama finally frees itself, is there any other time during one's lifetime that the neshama is somewhat free? Exactly. Because what did we just say till now? That the neshama is in a sense in a jail while it's in the body. That's only when the body is fully alive, functioning. It wants to enjoy life, it wants to eat, right? It has desires, it sees things, and the light and the eyes observe things. That is when the neshama says, no, I don't care for this. This is dangerous. This is poison. Don't do it, right? But there's a continuous struggle. The neshama, if it's not strong enough, if it doesn't have any support, it doesn't learn Torah, it doesn't live, within a certain community where there's positive influence. In other words, if there's no support from the outside, the neshama will lose the battle, except during one's sleep. When the guf is asleep, that means those bodily functions that have all these tavot and desires are not working right now. What's working? Just the pump. The pump, blood is being, right? Well, one time, I'm getting there. The body, right? What's working? Basically the heart. The pump, the heart is working, the circulation of the blood, and the rabbis tell us at that moment that the person is asleep is a had mishishim, 1/60th of that. What does that mean? That there's some liberation of the neshama. Some. To what extent? To the extent that depending on the level of that human being, of that individual, the neshama is able to come out of the body, and it does come out every single night, and goes up to the Elyonim, and is able to observe and see and hear things that he would not be capable of seeing or hearing while it is awake. And that is the halom, which we'll talk about towards the end, what are dreams all about. But the fact is that is the only time, except for an individual called the Navi, that I think that we will be talking about that in 2 weeks. What is prophecy all about? Prophecy is, 2 weeks from now. Totally different idea, but they're similar. That for a moment, there can be communication, direct communication and clear communication only to the neshama, without any obstruction of the group, without having the group having any influence over here.
Yes. The neshama goes up. Does it record all your actions for the day, each day?
Yeah, that's our tradition is that every single day there's an evening judgment there. Rosh Hashanah is the judgment for the year. Every night is a judgment for the day. And the Yom HaMitah, the day one person dies, is a judgment for the entire life. And guess what? The Yatamitim will be Yom HaDin HaGadol VaHaNorah, the mother of all judgments, as they say. And that will be judgments for all the reincarnations of that individual, for all his lives in this world. So there are various stages of judgments. Okay, so we said before that the neshama, depending on the actions of the group, is able to draw closer or draw farther away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or from the Kedusha, depending on if it is able to win the battles or not. So during the night, when it is free, and there is no battle, it is able to see a lot more or no more than it was able to do so during the day. And depending on what level it reached during the day, or depending on what level that neshama is to begin with, they show it more and more information, and that information can be clear or vague, as you will see soon when we speak about what dreams are all about. In other words, even though everybody has a neshama, not all the neshamot are equal, and depending on the level of the neshama, it is able to see more or less, and some with more clarity, and some with less clarity. Before we get into dreams, I just want to go over another point over here that he reminds us, which is really more elaborated in the Kabbalah, is that besides nefesh or neshama, there's really 5 entities. There's something called nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yachida. These are the 5 levels. Chaya and yachida is very difficult for us to discuss because we don't understand what their function really is. We are more familiar with nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Nefesh is at the lowest level. That is, as we said before, the instincts, the emotions, the feelings, and to an extent the intelligence. Ruach is something in between the nefesh and neshama. And neshama is the essence of that individual. Every Jew, not every non-Jew, every Jew has something called a neshama. Something completely different than a nefesh. In every reincarnation, you don't have the entire neshama, all you have is a little portion of it. The portion that needs a tikkun, it needs repair. Some call that portion a nitzotz, a spark. Regardless, it's only a portion, not the whole neshama comes down. This whole area of nefesh, ruach, neshama is a little bit confusing, because if you read the Zohar, you will find that all we really have at any given time is a nefesh. Right? If you read other parts of other books, you won't find the word nefesh, you will find the word neshama. So as I said before, the word nefesh and neshama are sometimes interchangeable. But even though they're interchangeable, they really are different entities. The nefesh is something by itself completely. And everybody has a nefesh. Even goyim have a nefesh. Animals have a nefesh. What's the difference between the human nefesh and the animal nefesh? The animal nefesh is called a nefesh ha-behemit, because it's the lowest level of the spirit. So for animals, it comes from the ground, it goes back to the ground. The human nefesh, which is more spiritual, goes upstairs after a while. The ruach, which is the in-between, is something which one can be zocheh, one can merit and get that during his lifetime, while he's alive. You're not born with the ruach necessarily, unless it's your first time here. And then there's something called neshama, which is the highest level of all, which is I guess if we can describe an apple, they believe the apple is the group, then neshama would be the seed. In other words, the actual essence of this human being. Another way of looking at it is like the pasuk says, Ner Hashem Ishmat Adam. The neshama is compared to a candle. What do you do with the candle? You can take one candle and light many, many candles from the original candle, and you did not diminish the original. Still there. It could divide itself into many sparks. So the neshama has this ability that the nefesh does not have, that the ruach does not have, in dividing itself. So when people ask me, Rabbi, if somebody was here and reincarnated several times, who's going to get up in Tchiyat HaMetim? Interesting question, right? It's the same person, reincarnation. They're all going to get up if they're zocheh. Because what each one only has is a portion of the original neshama. It's just like brothers and sisters. You share the same parents. But there was only one nefesh. So what happens? Who gives a new nefesh to all those bodies. Just so the nefesh on the lowest level can make the body alive, right? Not everybody will receive. The same thing with a ger. A non-Jew who converts, embraces the Jewish faith, is given something very special called the nefesh hager. It's an additional nefesh, which takes us to the next point. That there is additional neshamot, different kinds of neshamot that one can acquire during his lifetime. Besides the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida, that each individual has at least parts of, or may have parts of during his lifetime. Besides that, he can acquire something that is totally not his, does not belong to him. For example, the ger can acquire something called nefesh hager, which basically puts him on the level of a Jew, approximately. In other words, it elevates it to a different status. And there's something called neshama yetera, which we get when? Shabbat. On Shabbat, we actually receive some additional spiritual soul. I guess makes us feel different or feel better. Everybody experiences it differently. But the fact is, we have that on every Shabbat. What else is there? Something called ibur. Ibur means, you may have heard this, we have did elef avdalot, I don't want to compare it, but just for the sake of comparison. You may have heard the Goyim use the term a spiritual guide. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah. A spiritual guide. Sometimes, if a Jew is zocheh, if he did a mitzvah with all his heart, with sirut nefesh, with all sincerity, let's say the mitzvah of achnasat orchim, to have guests. But he did it mamash l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, and he did it completely, and he did it perfectly. He might be zocheh to what's called a neshama shetavo elav be'ibur, It means that another neshama that already departed from this world, that is no longer alive, will come and impregnate itself in his body to help him, to assist him to do this mitzvot, or to do other things, plus perhaps that neshama who might need a boost itself from this mitzvah that it is lacking, needs to come down temporarily to get a little bit of the experience of this mitzvah by being in that individual's body. So each one helps each other. That neshama can be only helping this man, or can be helping that man and helping itself too, by participating in a mitzvah that it was lacking. It's a very complex subject. Most people that you ever meet will not know about this area. I'm just sharing it with you because I think it's interesting, and it's okay we learn about it because why should we be ignorant about this fact? It's an interesting fact that's out there that helps us understand sometimes why an individual at any given moment perhaps is so excited to do mitzvah more than regular. It could be that he's being given this help, this outside help, this neshama who will lead him in this way. That is the meaning of what the rabbis tell us. Abali taher is one who wants to become clean, wants to be pure, wants to do the right thing. They will give him assistance from heaven. What kind of assistance? There's all kinds of assistance from heaven. If somebody wants to do teshuvah, alright, that's the simple example of Abali taher. He wants to be clean, he wants to do the right thing. And he really means it. What kind of assistance will he have? Hashem will make sure that he will meet with the rabbi, the right rabbi, the rabbi that speaks his language, that they will have safa meshutefet, he will like him. Okay? Another kind of assistance. That he, on the train, they're going in the same train or the same airplane, the same bus or whatever, he will meet up with a person that will say, you know what? I have a tape for you, a cassette, about this, and it happens to be the subject that he needs to know about. That's called assistance from heaven. That's called ashgachat pratit. That's divine providence. Right? So Abali taher is sayin of something hashamayim. They will help us. The person who's sincere, they will guide us. Yeah. Yeah.
How does that work? Why
It's to experience.
Why is there not?
It's to experience. From what I understand, it's to experience the higher level of sanctity that exists on that day. In order to fully appreciate and experience the Shabbat, one receives the Shemayim Torah, which puts him on a higher level. He's able to learn better. He's able to understand things better. He's able to experience all Shabbat. It's a more spirit. It becomes more spiritual. So anyway, getting back to what we were saying. So people can receive during their lifetime different neshamot that will assist them on different levels to do different things. Alright, next point. There's something called afagaviu lo chaze mazale chaze. Sometimes we have a feeling about something. In English it's called gut feeling, right? Others would call it intuition. I don't know, there's different names for it. People call it different things. The rabbis call it hiu lo chaze mazale chaze. He did not see something on his own. His mazal saw it. This is a spiritual mazal. What does that mean? What did we say before? The neshama is jailed in guf. It cannot fully experience what it would like to. Even though it's connected to the above, there's a conflict with the desires of the body. So it is not able to do everything we would want to. But remember, it still has control. It still is responsible, but it's more difficult for it. But at times, we said the neshama frees itself. One of those times is the night time. There are other times, however, that during the day, all of a sudden, you just have this feeling about something. I don't know, it doesn't have to be a bad feeling. It's just some gut feeling. Something is telling you, something, and you're afraid. All of a sudden you're afraid. Or all of a sudden you have this anxiety attack. What does this come from? It comes from something called mazale. Mazale, or in Aramaic, the mazal. It's not the mazal or the destiny of the individual, but it's the malach, or that spiritual koach, that force that controls the mazal, that gives you this insight or this information. All of a sudden you don't know where it comes from, but you have this feeling that something is wrong, something is about to happen. This is while you're awake, not while you're asleep. What is all of this? This is a way of Hashem communicating with the person. Today, we don't have Ruach HaKodesh so much, right? Ruach HaKodesh meaning, how do we translate Ruach HaKodesh? No, divine providence is ashgachat pratit. Divine inspiration, right? Some people have zochet to it. We don't have nevuah, clear prophecy. We don't have something called bat's kol, heavenly voice. We don't have the urim v'tumim, which is the breastplate that the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, used to wear, which we would ask questions if we want to know, should we go to war, should I marry this woman or not? People had a big question, they would go to the Kohen Gadol. What do we do today? So the Pasuk says, V'chalom adaber bo. Hashem speaks or communicates to people through the halom, through dreams. There are other ways too. What did we say before? There are messengers. There are many messengers from Hashem to give us assistance or to give us signs, signals that this is what we're supposed to do. You know how sometimes people ask, Hashem, give me a sign. If he's zocheh, if he merits it, Hashem will give him a sign. It will happen. You know, he will receive some signal from above telling him, what do I do? I don't know what to do. If you really pray sincerely, you will get a sign from above. Quick story. I just remember, I meant to tell you earlier. Remember how we said before there's assistance from heaven. You're sincere, you ask for a sign, you'll get it. There was an individual who was not religious. His father was a little bit more religious than his son was. And father passed away. This man, I believe, was manager of the airport in one of the New England cities. Charleston, right? Raleigh. One of those, towns over there. Not where there's no real big Jewish community. Anyway, father passed away. Appears in a dream to his son. How can you not sing Kaddish for me? It's one thing you're not keeping Shabbat. It's one thing that you've gone off the derech, you've gone off the path. But you're not even saying Kaddish for me. You know how much I'm suffering. At first, the son was shocked. He sees his father in the dream. He hasn't seen his father for a while, so he didn't make anything of it. It's a dream. The father came back. Came back twice. Came back 3 times, and he warned him, "You better say this for me." But Dad, he finally says, "How can I say Kaddish? There's no minyan." He at least knew what a minyan is. He says, "Don't worry. If you're prepared to say Kaddish, I'll arrange a minyan for you." What happened? The following morning, there was a big snowstorm in the East Coast, a blizzard. And there was a plane going, I think, from Cincinnati or Cleveland to New York. And because of the blizzard, it was diverted to that particular town. They got off the plane, and they were 9. And they needed a minyan. They didn't have a 10th person. They were looking. And the man, that son, that the father appeared to him in a dream, came over to them and said, "I know why you're here. You need a minyan, right?" "Yes." "How did you know?" "Well, so do I. I also need a minyan." And it was immediately clear to him that his father from above had protectia. He had pull, "I'll arrange a blizzard for you, don't worry. I'll get these guys down here. You want a minyan? Okay, you really want to say Kaddish? I'll arrange for a minyan." See, you are min hashamayim. The person really wants to, and they can do it from above. Because most people, unfortunately, don't realize it. They don't think about this. They think it's so impossible, so incredible. But it happens. They help him. They really help him from heaven. Alright, the last point that we're going to talk about is, even though he doesn't elaborate here, but does bring it up a little bit here, is that this neshama is able, while the guf is asleep, to observe, to see certain things that he would not be able to while it was awake. Through what way? Through a dream. So what are dreams all about? So we're going to talk a little bit about dreams now. The rabbis tell us that there are 3 parts of the night. The early part of the evening, let's say 9 to 12. Then there's 12 to 3, and there's 3 to 6. You divide the night into 3 parts. The first part of the night, the body is asleep, the neshama departs, and it is able to see what? All sorts of things that it thought about during the day. In other words, it is free from the physical constraints of the body, and it starts imagining. It is full of imaginative ideas, and those imaginative ideas have nothing to do with reality. They may very possibly have to do with thoughts that you had during the day. If you had bad thoughts, you will see bad things. Right? If you saw a friend, you were very excited to see him, you might see him in the dream. You see things that may have had to do with the thoughts or your experiences during the day. So that dream is worth nothing. Nothing. Imagination. Dream number 2, middle of the night. Those are the scariest. Those are the craziest dreams. Dreams that don't make sense whatsoever. You see yourself going into a hole the size of where a mouse would enter. How am I able to enter this little hole if I'm so big? And whatever you can't imagine, that's when you see it, the middle part of the night. The middle part of the night, the things that we have are during that time are also not real, but they are either due to pressures. People are going through a lot of pressures, tension, fears. People wanted war, So you get all kinds of nightmares. The second part of the night, also nothing to do with reality. Before number 3, another possibility for the second part of the night is dreams that are influenced by demons, by shadim. You see all sorts of things, and I'm not going to get into details right now. I'll tell you some other time what kind of dreams the demons give you. They're not very pleasant. Let's put it that way. But common denominator of these two dreams, the first part of that and the second part of that, is you don't have to be concerned about it. The problem is people don't remember when you dress, so that makes it more difficult. The third part of the night, right before you wake up, especially if you woke up with the dream, I wish it was longer, but that alarm clock, right? Or that phone call, right? Sometimes you just wake up. Then you know it was the morning because you woke up with it. Otherwise you may not know. The third part of the night is usually when the real dreams appear. That's when they happen. Now, everybody's dreams depends on his level of the neshama. The greater a person is, the cleaner, the purer he is, he will see clean dreams. Pure dreams. Not confused, not ambiguous. If a person is not so special, he doesn't do mitzvot, his dreams are vague, grainy. He sees what the rabbis call kash v'tevet, straw and hay. You have to be able to decipher, figure out, this is junk. This is not part. This doesn't mean anything. And pick only that which is relevant. Well, most people don't know how to do that. That is why they were always people who knew how to interpret these. They were able to focus on what was relevant. And this is not relevant. Forget about this. Throw this away. This is the straw. Right? But if a person is a great man, if he did a beautiful mitzvah that day, let's say he's an average man, but he did a beautiful mitzvah the day before. He helped a poor man. He made his day. Right? Because of that mitzvah, maybe he will see a special dream that night. It will be a real dream. What kind of a dream? Either something into the future, right? Because, by the way, we all see future events. We all see. Before an event happens to us in our life of any significance, we all experience, we all see it. But we forget it. That is what Deja Vu is all about. Where did I see this before? I've been here before. Yes, you were here before in your dream. You saw me, or in a previous reincarnation. We all see, but we forget about it. We forget most of our dreams. But somebody who merits to see clear, vivid dreams and real dreams, he will not only be able to see the future that affects him, that future that affects his family members, and maybe even in a greater level, the future that affects Am Yisrael. That's one kind of a dream, a predictive dream, a futuristic dream. Other dreams have nothing to do with the future. They have to do with your present situation. You have a question. Maybe they'll give you the answer from above. And then there's other kinds of dreams. Nothing to do with the question, nothing to do with the future. Your grandfather who passed away is coming to appear to you in a dream. Why? Because your wife is pregnant. Since your wife is pregnant, he wants you to think of him and give him the name. He's basically saying Mazal Tov. That is one way how you can know if you're a boy or girl too. Are you seeing your grandmother or are you seeing your grandfather? Are you seeing your uncle or are you seeing your aunt? So there are different kinds of dreams. These are all true. And the surroundings are going to be different, but their message might be different. Either it's something in the future, either it's something in the present, or it's in the Mazal Tov or something. Again, I only gave you a few examples. There's various other examples of dreams right before the morning. The common denominator of the morning dreams is that they can be real. How do we know if they're real or just something nice and something pleasant? Well, there's several indicators. One is you did not have the dream, somebody else had it for you. So, a good friend of yours dreamt about you in their dream with a certain message. That dream could be true because somebody else had it, not you. That is one way. Number two, if you dreamt about it twice, especially if it was in the same night, that's another indicator. You woke up, you slept, you went back to sleep, and you dreamt again. That could be an indicator that it's a real dream. But the fact that it was repeated in the same night and not the separate nights, it's also an indicator that it's going to happen very quickly. So a repetition of a dream in the same night is not only true, but it's also that it's going to happen quickly. I hope there's nobody here who has not seen dreams for 7 days. As the rabbis tell us, it's important because somebody who does not see dreams at all, it could be that he is doing means that he's excommunicated from. They don't want to share any information. So if you ever suspect you have dreams, you may want to look into that. What do we do if we have a bad dream? Just remember something. When I say bad dream, don't get confused. What we think is bad is not necessarily bad. A real bad dream is when everything in the dream is bad. It's like just terror. The word. If you see yourself dying, that's not a bad dream. That's a good dream. It means something else. It doesn't mean that you're going to die. Bad dream is mamash, terrible nightmares, terrible things right before you wake up in the morning that completely affects you and completely distraught. The only thing to do when you have that experience, that kind of dream, is to either fast or to give tzedakah. Because you are given an opportunity to to annul a decree that may have been decreed. And that is what they're letting you know. They're giving you a chance. They're telling you beforehand, hey, this may happen. So there might be a bad thing from time to time, and what gets rid of it, Kohanim, sure, and so forth. Okay, what do we do with the saying that the rabbi tells Shekol HaChalamot Olchim Achar HaPeh? All the dreams go by what the interpreter says. The interpreter has the ability to interpret a dream and to determine the outcome of a dream. That does not apply to real dreams. If it's a real dream, a dream that is prophetic in nature and in the future, he cannot affect that. But he can affect other dreams that you may have. In other words, if you do have a dream that you don't know what it means, don't discuss it with your neighbor. Don't discuss it with somebody that does not like you. Discuss it, if anything, with somebody that does like you. So if any interpretation is given, which may affect the outcome of the dream, should be a positive interpretation. Okay, I think that basically does it. The only thing I would like to add about dreams is that that is one of the mediums that Hashem uses to communicate with us today, besides some additional mediums, like children who all of a sudden will blurt out of nowhere. Mazal Tov. They start clapping their head. Why are you singing Mazal Tov out of the book? It could mean that this girl who's over 30, or this boy who's over 30, who have not been married, is going to be married very soon. Hashem uses children, uses dreams, uses all sorts of signs to let us know sometimes, especially those who are concerned, that there's a Mazal Tov coming, that there's some good news coming. Sheyesh B'surah Tova. So this is at the very lowest level. Unfortunately, we don't have Nevuah, we don't have Ruach HaKodesh. The other way, Ruach HaKodesh is something that we can reach, but it's very difficult. Some tzaddikim have it. Very soon, when Mashiach comes, the Kadosh Baruch Hu will pour on everyone a Ruach Tahara, the cleansing spirit, that we will be able to understand and observe and know a lot more than what we know today. Today, at least, we have a little bit of communication. He has not completely let go of us. He does communicate with us in the dream. He does communicate with us with various signs, and those who are sensitive and pay attention and do not ignore the signs are able to help themselves with it. Some people are just close their eyes and not willing to see anything. What does this mean? Yeah, what does this mean? Rabbi tells you, you see something bad happen, you examine your deeds. The more so, if you have certain dreams, and you know from experience that your dreams are prophetic or are real, pay attention, do something about it. So all of these are aids, are tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us as a way of communicating with us, even though, Chaz v'Shalom, unfortunately we are distant from Him, we have no Bet HaMikdash, no Kohen Gadol, no Rim v'Tumim, no Navi. Nevertheless, we still have a dream, we still have signs out there that give us information, that give us clues, and if we don't have them, then we have a tzaddikim. In every generation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu planted a number of tzaddikim who have a tremendous siyata d'shmaya, they have a tremendous assistance from above, that their blessings come real, that their advice and suggestions are correct. But Hashem says, these people will turn to them. They better know what they say. And what they say will be the truth. So that is the ma'ala, that is the advantage of going to a big tzaddik. When you have any major question to decide, any major decision to make, go to a tzaddik that has a good reputation. And you can be sure that whatever he will give you, whatever he will tell you, will be the right thing. Hashem is speaking through him. He is the channel. Not everybody has chalomot, dreams. But tzaddikim, Baruch Hashem, will please them. We have a few in every generation, and they are the ones that we need to do. Because they have Ruach HaKodesh, or they are at least on the madrika, on the level, that Hashem will communicate to them what we need to know.
Regarding dreams, some people forget their dreams.
Right.
They know they've dreamt, but they forget it.
The rabbis tell us that if it's a good dream, it's a good idea to remember it.
Yes, right.
If you remember it, it will come true.
The other thing I wanted to know, Rabbi, about is the book. When does it enter a person's body?
If that individual did something terrible, is cursed, he did not say blessing before,
very angry.
He got very angry, right? The book has permission to enter, to possess at certain times. You just can't take over anybody. If it's given permission to enter somebody's body, it must be that that individual did something to deserve that. Today we don't see it too often. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just that we don't either have the ability to remove him, or he does not want to talk. He's very comfortable where he is. Some people even say that schizophrenia can be a symptom of something to do with the book. We don't know. It's very difficult. But it is something that has always existed and still exists, unfortunately. It's terrible. We have a lot of documented stories, of course, of how it happens and what happens to very young. These souls are miskinim, they're very, intolerant. What? Intolerant, sure. They need help. They're seeking for help. Just that today, there's not that many people that can help them. Once upon a time, there were 17 people who knew how to do it.
What are they?
That's the whole lecture. Another opportunity that Hashem will talk about why Hashem made demons, what they do, what their function is, the various types of things. There's quite a few of them.
They're not necessarily right?
So most of the time they're transparent, and most of the time they are in rural places, not in urban places. Yeah, but they can interact with people, and they can cause harm. One needs to be careful to deal with them. Yes. Right. Right. No, we're talking about Hashem, right? Right, but we're talking about Hashem and handle the Gan Eden. This individual. No. We're talking about the individual himself, that Hashem, Ruach Hashem, can handle the Gan Eden, right? Not the Ruach of this person. Yeah, because every Haskara, we're giving the Nefesh, the Neshama, an opportunity to grow, to have an Aliyah, to have a boost. That is the importance of saying Mishnayot, saying the Kaddish. It's very important because that Neshama can no longer do anything for itself. So the little bit that the children do, the Kaddish, the little bit that other people do, Le'ilu Nishmat, for the memory of the departed soul, gives them an additional boost on an annual basis. That is why it's important to do whatever we can for those Neshamot who can no longer do anything for themselves.
Rabbi, for when you make a shkava,
right,
or Shenema, you always use the mother's name.
Right. Because the only reason we use the mother's name, the mother is more certain. Right. This is your mother.
Well, when you're being called up to the tippet or you have an aliyah, then they mention mother.
By Ashkenazim, by Sephardim, they don't even mention the name. No, father. Right. The only time we use the mother is when somebody's sick, because we want to make sure it's certain this is his mother. So we're asking for this individual. So we make sure to use the mother's name. But otherwise, for an aliyah, you use the father's